Chairman has the floor. The meeting for the Equity Advisory Committee, January 12th, 2021, is officially started. Start time 7:03 p.m. Hold on one second, everybody. We'll start with the review of the minutes from last month's meeting. I'd like to note that a correction needs to be made on the attendance.
Okay.
We have Brandy Barrett absent and present. She was present at the meeting, but for absent, I think you mean Reverend Brown.
Okay, got it. Noted.
And Reverend Brown was absent.
Okay. Got it.
I bring a motion to pass the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone abstain? Any nays? Let the record show that the minutes were passed unanimously. So what I'll do now is turn the committee meeting over to Mayor Chris Areno, and then I'll also let Councilman Ellsworth Tolliver say a few words. But after that, what we'll do is do the introduction of committee members to the community.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming here. I know it's always challenging when we put these committees together. It's all volunteers, so we really appreciate your time. The way that we got to this point, as many of you all know, after the George Floyd incident, we had numerous marches for social justice in the community. We painted the murals in September, and I really wanted to try to put together a framework that would kind of keep this work in the public eye, really for the rest of at least this calendar year. And so late in the summer of 2020, we passed a resolution. Well, actually, we adopted the framework, which we call Chestertown Unites Against Racism, which at the time was a 16-month plan. We're down to it being about a 12-month plan. And then we passed a resolution creating this Equity Advisory Committee. And really the role of the committee is to give advice and counsel to the mayor and council on how to implement different elements of the plan, assist where possible, and also provide recommendations for things like diversity trainings and promoting certain events that address social justice topics in town, like things like Legacy Day or Juneteenth, help us with the creation of new events. Basically, this committee is here to assist the community and specifically our elected officials with trying to implement the plan. This is really the first meeting where a lot of the folks on this committee have never served on a public-facing committee before. So honestly, it's been a little bit of a cumbersome process getting this to where it's posted on our website. People can get the link. We're taking minutes, although Kate's been really nice about taking those minutes. And then eventually we'll get all this posted on a website that will be specific to this committee, and all that will be streamlined. So thanks for bearing with that process, especially members of the press. And that's really all I have to say, other than thank you guys again for serving.
Yes. Councilman Tolliver, any words?
Yes, I'd like to thank you guys all for volunteering and participating in this process. As Chris was saying, it's going to take some time to get your legs up under you in terms of how you go about operating your business. But I'm excited and looking forward to the finished product that you all come out with at the end. I'm here as an observer only, and a great supporter of what it is that you all are going to try to do.
Yeah, and again, My role generally is that of observer as well, unless, members of the committee want to ask questions of me or else. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer questions as well.
All right, we'll start with introductions, and what I'll do is just alert you members in your box to let you know, go with your introduction, why you joined the Equity Advisory Committee, and any history you have about being a resident of Chestertown or surrounding areas. Kate?
Yeah, I'll go. My name is Kate Livy. I am a Kent County native, born and raised. Grew up in Chestertown, going to Kent County schools. Left for college and graduate school and moved back. I lived in Chestertown as an adult since, 2005. And I live outside of town with my husband, Ben Ford, who works at Washington College. I have a small business, Alosa Communications, where I do digital media and communications. I launched my own business about 2 years ago. I guess I have a reputation. I'm a freelance writer. I wrote a book. I'm really passionate about the Chesapeake, and I love this place. I really love Kent County. And so when the Black Lives Matter movement, sort of reemerged this summer, and I watched the riots, I felt at a loss as a white person for what I could do besides read a bunch of books and feel bad. How could I make a change in our community for the better? What could I actually do? I was really, energized by meeting John and talking to him about, some of his thinking regarding this committee and how, I could be a part of implementing change so that people who live in Chestertown feel like they're equal and they're not hindered and held back by the color of their skin. So, I'm now the secretary of the committee. John often taps me to be outspoken, an outspoken white lady. And so I do that when required. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to put my shoulder behind this effort, and happy to, help be a part of making Chestertown a better place for everyone to live.
Thank you, Kate.
All right, I'm Thomas Heyman. I was born and raised in Chestertown. I've lived here, my entire life. Grew up on High Street. I live on Hilltop Lane, right off of Flatland. So I'm an educator. I work in Centerville as a history teacher. As some of you know, I ran for mayor a few years back. You just want to be, a part of a change for the town. That was my goal, running for mayor as well. I just want to make it a better place for everyone, and that's my motivation to be a part of this committee.
I'm Ruth Shogate. I have been in this commute. I've lived here for the past 30 years. So I consider myself almost a Chestertonian. I worked at Washington College. I'm now retired. I was there for 29 years. I have been involved with diversity, equity, justice ever since I got here and realized what just the culture and history of Chestertown and Kent County. So I've been involved at the college and in the community for 30 years. So I'm motivated because I want to continue to see change. Sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's painful, and so on. And I have to add that meeting John and the sort of relationship I developed with John, he said, could you be a part of this? And I definitely wanted to support this cause and to support him. So.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
Hi, Vic Sentineg. I'm the Chief of Staff at Washington College in the President's Office. I have worked at the college since 2015. And I am currently the co-chair of the Washington College History Project with our provost, Michael Harvey. And I served as chair of that project for the first 6 months. And that project at the college is devoted to understanding the college's history and George Washington in specific in terms of that historical connection to enslavement and race. But as we've continued with the project, much of the effort has turned to telling some of the stories of people and heroes, frankly, who have been ignored or marginalized, and to acknowledge that history in public statements and symbolic actions. And then ultimately to work for change on the campus, change its campus culture. So I'm very excited to be part of a committee in the town that's devoted to doing work that's very much along the same lines, and doing what I can to bring any resources that the college might have to bear on the work of this committee to the betterment of the town.
Thank you, Vic. Reverend Brown.
Yes, I am Robert Brown, known here in the Kent County community as Bobby Brown. I'm a native here of Kent County. Been here for my entire life, the past 64 years, with the exception of when I have left to be educated as well. And I'm on the committee because my family here has a history in the civil rights movement from the 1950s. 3 generations of my family have been in that movement, from my grandfather up to the present. We have always been in the battle for equality, certainly believing in doing it non-violently. I also served here in the community for 30 years as a music educator in the Kent County public school system. And I'm going into my 13th year, 12th year as pastor of Bethel AME Church, a church of which my family, I'm the 3rd generation to pastor that church. So we have quite a history here. Certainly, I was one of the first students to integrate the public school system here. And so definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, believe in the Black Lives Matters movement. Not that I do not believe that all lives matter, because I certainly do, but it seems that the Black lives have been the ones that have been disenfranchised and left out. And so therefore, I'm determined to stay in that battle, to do what I can to make life better, not only for African Americans, but for all people, until we can clearly understand that we have one race, which is the human race. And I'm hoping that the Equity Advisory Committee will be a part of bringing about that change here in Kent County. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Brown. I'm John Queen. A lot of you all know me as president of the Bayside Hoyas. I joined the Equity Advisory Committee after having several long and hard conversations with Mayor Chris Serino. I also had conversations with Megan Eflin and Tom Hurds over this time where the mural in the town was, getting galvanized for this fight. And some of the conversations I had with Chris, it just opened my eyes to the opposite side of the fence, so to speak. So often as a Black man, the first thing I do is get aggressive, defensive, and attack. But because of the rapport myself and Chris have, to hear him be vulnerable and say, well, I just didn't understand, it made me kind of awaken in how I judge people or how I see things. And I thought this Equity Advisory Committee within the 16-month plan would be a great chance, or have a great chance, to make some type of forward progress. So that's why I joined the Equity Advisory Committee. We have 4 members who are not present today, so I want to say their names on record. We have Bishop Ronald Fisher, who is a bishop at Faith Life Church located in Chestertown, Maryland. We have Brandy Barrett, who is a business owner. She owns the Holistic Shop business right outside of town limits on 213. We have Jen Baker, who's a business owner in downtown Chestertown. We have Latoya Johnson, who's a community activist and also has Saving Hope Consulting. Now, hold on now. I know this is our first time, and I'm going to say it on camera. I'm a little shaky with using Zoom, so bear with me, media. Can everyone see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Executive action. We are on committee roles with Secretary Kate Levy. Kate, the mayor kind of explained how we got here. If you want to elaborate on that, you can. If not, we can move to the next thing.
Okay, so I think it would be helpful for members of the public, but also members of the committee, for a little clarification on what an advisory committee is. I say this because I am not used to being on an advisory committee. I'm used to actually being on like subcommittees and things like that. And this is I've had to have this conversation for clarification with John and Chris. We are meant to develop, research these topics, the goals of of this plan, the 16-month plan. We are supposed to research and provide recommendations to the town. So the idea is that we do not implement these plans. The idea is that the town implements the plans, but that we come up with, for example, trainings. Knowing that, understanding who the trainings are the trainings for town council members, are the trainings for the town at large, and then recommending what trainings we think would make sense, understanding, the makeup of the community. That's just one example. Another example might be with Juneteenth, making a recommendation for, who the different groups that we think should be involved, how the town might potentially execute this, and what partners would need to work together, and how that might be, an endeavor of the Main Street Initiative with input from other groups, so that it remains something that everyone feels welcome and can participate in, regardless of their ethnicity or race. So that was helpful for me, because when we're talking about what is on the agenda, the idea is not that we jump in and we start planning all of these things and we're going to run all of this. The idea is that we are doing the research, we're having the conversation, we represent a body of, sort of a cross section of different populations of the town. We have these conversations, and then we bring it to the mayor and the council so that they can enact the planning and the recommendations that we provided. John, please feel free to chime in if that is incorrect.
No, you are correct, Kate. That is the role of the Equity Advisory Committee and its members. So that's a good articulation for me. Any committee members want to elaborate on that or build off of that? Okay, executive action. We want to make sure we kind of give some of the information out, seeing that we are all kind of new to this public forum here for this committee. And what we want to make transparent is the communication from the community on how to contact us. The community can contact us via email. Currently, right now, via email, the email is active. It's Chestertown Equity Advisory @gmail.com. And then after, hold on. And then as of Monday, January 18th, MLK Day, we will launch the website, ChestertownUnites.com. So that will be the second way community citizens can contact us via email or website. Also, we want to discuss a little bit about the agenda approval, how to be approved to get on the agenda. You must contact the Equity Advisory Committee via email or website. You must state why you want to be on the agenda, and it must fit into the 3 pillars that the town of Chestertown have laid out: education, legislation, or unification. And based on that, your approval for the agenda will be approved by the chairman if you fit into the plan. The link for public meetings, you must request the link for the public meetings by 5 p.m. on the day of the Equity Advisory Committee meeting. So that date will be every second Tuesday at 7 p.m. You must request the link prior to 7 p.m. by 5 p.m. That's the executive action part of the agenda. Any comments, concerns, or thoughts from committee members? All right, committee action. I've been speaking with Case the last month or so, trying to make sure we understand the bylaws for governing this public meeting. Also, the do's and don'ts as far as how to handle the public and how to relay information from the Equity Advisory Committee to the town. This will be an ongoing process, so we hope that the public will bear with us and help us through this process, or allow us to work through this process. Also on the committee action, the role we are right now in the committee, we're currently trying to identify the Equity and Advisory Committee members' strengths and weaknesses. But right now we're kind of honing in on the strengths. This is a process that's going to take time. I think it'll take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to really have each member find their lane, because we all were brought together based on our skill set and how we impact the community and how we can decipher information from within the plan and to the community. So that's just like a heads up to the community to let everyone know where we are as far as the committee action. Plan information. Diversity cultural trainings. I want to check with Ruth and Vic. Are there any updates?
So I'm actually working with a couple people at the college on some of the resources that we might be able to provide, given the fact that that diversity training is a part of something we've been offering to that campus community. As well as the fact that some of the topics that have been raised as of interest in this committee are areas that we have expertise at the college. So what my plan is, I don't have it ready tonight, but my plan is in consulting with Ruth is to provide this committee with some of those options. I don't think this will necessarily be a complete picture of what the training might be, but I think it could end up being a very valuable resource and one that could strengthen the ties between what the college is, how the college is helping its own community and how it might assist with helping the town. Thank you, John.
Yes, thank you, Vic. Ruth, you want to add anything?
No, I have to meet with Vic, see what he has, and in consultation,
Right, understood.
Thank
Thank you.
whatever
Yeah, we'll be back.
adjustments that's there. Yeah.
All right, plan implementation.
Hey, John, can I say one thing about the training?
Yes.
So this is Mayor Serino. It would be really great if the college could provide a training, like if you give one to your faculty that the mayor and council could participate in. To me, I see this as low-hanging fruit and something that we really need to do, and it would really be great actually if all of our town employees could do it as well. One of the weaknesses of this plan is that all of this has all happened kind of between budgeting cycles for the town. So we really don't have any funds as of right this second dedicated to the portions of the plan. And I would like to dedicate some funds to it, but it's really challenging between budgeting cycles, which usually run from like July 1st to June 30th. So without belaboring the point too much, if the college has resources you could bring to bear that could be on the economic side for the town in terms of saving us some funding, that'll be really, really helpful for us.
That's exactly where we can create some economy here.
Exactly.
Because these are things that we are doing internally, and
Right.
the cost would be asking people to do a little bit extra for the
Yeah.
town and also possibly providing a stipend. I think that's a reasonable request for people that have their own day jobs, but at a much lower cost than it would take to go outside for that, and with people who know the community as well.
Correct.
Yeah, and because it would be extra in terms of it's a different clientele that training would be serving. So the training for faculty would not be quite the same as training for leadership in a city.
That's well said, Ruth. And that's where I think your input before we bring it to the committee is going to be very valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you had one for senior administration, that would work. That would be more compatible with city training. So
just to give you guys some examples, like I know some of you know Debbie Mazier, and she does this, and she's offering a course right now, but it's like an 8-week commitment. And I'm really hesitant to like push my council to commit to something that's that long, because we're already basically glorified volunteers that work all the time on town stuff. And then my wife works for the school system, and they regularly have people come in, but they have this grant. So they have a guy coming in, I think he's talking to them for like an hour and a half, and it's $3,000, and I can't just at a meeting say, hey, we need to throw $3,000 at this without a lot of discussion. And, it's just it's a challenging thing, because these are all things we want to do. But any way that a community member could help and basically do us a favor would be very much appreciated.
That's plan information. Any more comments, thoughts, or concerns? All right. Plan implementation. We're going to start implementing certain parts of the plan, of the 16-month plan. And we're going to start addressing the 3 pillars of education, legislation, and unification. But we're going to be a little bit more, or start to be a little bit more in depth and start to attack the actual categories under those pillars. So under the plan implementation for community dialogue, we will be working with Washington College and the SGA of Washington College. We'll be having a community dialogue Zoom meeting January 20th with Washington College SGA, which will include the Equity Advisory Committee, Town Council and Mayor, and students from Washington College. And what this will be is a look at things here locally, but also a discussion of things that are nationwide. A lot of the students, when they reached out to the Equity Advisory Committee, they really wanted to talk about building a bridge as it pertains to the college and to Chestertown. They feel like they're ostracized or confined to a bubble of Washington College, and there's a great segment of student life there that want to get outside of that bubble and be a part of the community. So they have a host of things that we're going back and forth with to see if it's appropriate for the plan. But the one thing that they have came up with is this community dialogue. And of course, some of the topics that they have emailed me earlier today that they want to confirm are talking about what happened with Capitol Hill in January 6th. They want to also go back and revisit what happened with the incident at Washington College and go a little bit more into depth about that and how people felt about that, and then the overall morale of the campus as it pertains to racism, social justice, and connecting with the Chestertown community. Any questions? All right, the next thing we will try to implement in the plan will be a book club, which will fall under the education pillar. And that will be directly related to the James Teller Remembrance Project, with several people a part of it. The James Teller Justice Coalition, the Bayside Warriors are the two main, and Heartland. I don't want to forget Chesapeake Heartland, who that initiative started from, or the funding came from. What we're scheduling to do is read Sherlyn Eiffel's On the Courthouse Lawn book, which is about lynching, sometime in late March, early April. We want to start the book club up, but right now The two organizations, meaning Bayside Hoyas and the James Taylor Justice Coalition, are trying to get some things done as far as order books. We're looking to have 40 people involved in this book club. And also, we're trying to see if Sherilyn Eiffel's schedule will allow her to be a part of the book club as well, or some part of the book club in discussion. So,
John, can I ask a question?
yes.
Is this a virtual event?
Yes, this event will, good question. Yes, this event will be virtual for the time being due to COVID and its restraints, but we're working on ways to make it virtually more interactive and more of a discussion base with community dialogue, and that being under the education pillar with the James Taylor Remembrance Coalition. James Taylor Justice Coalition.
Mhm. John, have you contacted Sherilyn Eiffel as yet?
I don't want to say yes or no because I don't want to misrepresent the answer that I got because I can't think offhand without reading emails. Vic Pfeiffer is working closely with me, as well as Phil Dutton from the James Taylor Justice Coalition. And I know they are two people who can be in contact with her or reach out to her. So I know that's on the plate to reach out to her. I just don't know if it was confirmed yet on their end.
Okay. And the funding for the books, will these books be given out for free, or you're going to ask participants to buy the book?
No, we're working on something, and I don't want to prematurely put someone out there and then obligate them to do something, but we are working with a business downtown who is looking to get us the books. We just got to discuss how that is. It might be a donation, it might be a half price, I'm not sure, but someone in the community is looking to help us secure the 40 books. Yes.
Good.
Planning and implementation. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? All right. Under the historic video section, which is under the education pillar in the plan, we are currently in the editing stages of the Black churches of Chestertown, where we'll be showcasing Bethel AME, James United Methodist, and Faith Life Church. For this, what I would like to do is actually turn it over to Reverend Brown and let him talk about the day of recording that we had laid out that day.
Okay, thank you, John. The day of recording went very well. It was very exciting. I felt very privileged and very honored and considered a pleasure to have been interviewed by a former music student of mine, which was Gordon Wallace. He interviewed, he recorded, the questions were already in place, and we went with the recording. Everything went off very well. He's excited about the recording as well as myself. And I certainly look forward to seeing the end results, not just of Bethel, but also of James United Methodist Church, as well as Faith Life. And I also consider it an honor to have been one of the churches selected to be able to be a part of these historical recordings, and certainly hope that they will provide a part of the educational aspect as well as the historical aspect that we are striving for within the Equity Advisory Committee, as well as the town of Chestertown.
Thank you, Reverend. Myself, Kate was there, but first I don't know if we're allowed to do shout outs, but we're going to do it in this committee. I do want to shout out Gordon Wallace at Digital 6. He's helping us with some of the filming. He's one of the people that's going to help us with this. And he's also intertwined in the community as well with a lot of the things that we have going on. So that's definitely a good look. And I will also say this, I was in attendance that day when they were recording. And for me, to hear Reverend Brown speak of the knowledge he has when it comes to not only the AME churches, not only to the Chestertown history, but to be able to connect it to the present day. For me, just listening to his voice, I know me and Kate, when we heard his voice, when we were interviewed, we would look at each other and be like, man, that voice gets us every time. So for me, just to hear him speak and hear the passion about, like he said earlier in his introduction, his roots here and the history that he has in this community, to me, it means a lot being someone who's only been here for 11 years, to hear someone with the perspective of a Mr. Reverend Brown. So I'm very excited for that as well. Any comments?
Can't wait to see it.
Yes. Okay. Historical videos, another thing we're working on, or we're in the process of starting, are videos to address kind of police genocide, which is the reason all of this Chestertown Unites Against Racism kind of really originated from, with the murder of George Floyd. Well, I'm not going to say murder, the untimely death of George Floyd kind of prompted this, as a lot of people paid attention to police brutality. So what we're going to work on is a video that's also working with the James Taylor Justice Coalition. We're going to tie the lynchings of the late 1800s here in Chestertown, or late 1900s, with James Taylor and a couple other people throughout Northern King County and Queen Anne's County, to modern day police brutality. And we're going to try to tie the two together, the present and the past, as far as police brutality, the origins of lynching, and the things of that nature, and trying to make it educational, where we're giving perspectives on where some of these things originated, or also look at some of the techniques or policies that feed into current day police genocide. So we're starting to work on that video as well. Any comments? The next video is a video of gentrification. This will also be in the historical video under the education pillar of the plan. And with this gentrification, we're working with several organizations, and two of them being Washington College, SGA, but we're also going to work with the Downtown Chestertown Association with this. They have reached out to us, both organizations, and asked how can they be a part of the plan, and they have been trying to find a kind of way to fit into this plan. So in February, we're scheduled to shoot in February, but it might be pushed back depending on COVID and how many people we can have engaged with this, because we're looking to have a few of the Washington College students. So we got to base a lot of their schedule and what they're doing as far as school. But we're going to look at gentrification in the Cannon Street area, Wilma Park area, Water Street, and Front Street area. And we're going to do some things where we're talking to business owners downtown, past and present homeowners, just to give a good idea of when gentrification started, but start documenting it with more than just opinion. We want to look at it with facts and look at it with some things that in gentrification might also possibly be tied to legislation in the tax policy. We hear the mayor so passionately reinforce over and over again that Chestertown residents are double taxed. So we might find a correlation in the taxing being maybe too much for a certain demographic, which could therefore be a byproduct of leading to gentrification. So a lot of the things in the pillar that we're starting to look at kind of connects to other parts of the pillars. And it's a seamless transition once we get our ducks in a row, so to speak, on what to discuss and how to articulate that to the community, and give it to the community where it's palatable. So that way we are uniting against racism instead of dividing when we're talking about race. Historic video section, any comments, thoughts, concerns? All right, updates. The Equity Advisory Committee members have been doing a slight media run to kind of warm up the presence for the launching of the website. John Queen, chairman, done an interview with the Chestertown Spy. Kate Levy and Reverend Brown also interviewed with Kent County News, which was in the newspaper 2 weeks ago. Kate, do you want to talk about your experience in the interview?
Yep. Okay, so John invited me to come to the taping of the Gordon Wallace interviews with Reverend Brown, and Dan DeVillio from the Kent County News was there to interview the two of us. John felt that it was important that I participate in the interview as well as John, so that there's a sense of a platform where I can help to magnify and amplify some of John's messages. We both felt that it was important that we explain the purpose of the committee as, really coming out of this great time of civil unrest in our country and wanting to focus our efforts specifically on our town, understanding that, it really is a microcosm of many of the communities that are experiencing, sort of a awakening across the country. We talked about the need for action, and that our group specifically is interested in taking a lot of that, growing and increasing awareness that we're seeing within our community and creating a framework for our community to get involved. We talked about the importance of there being multiple groups and efforts within Chestertown right now that are all sort of tackling this issue from different approaches, and how, we both believe that there is room for everyone, that Chestertown is going to be, become better and a more inclusive place to live for everyone throughout, with the efforts of not just us, but other initiatives that are happening at the same time. And they reflect, this interest in our community in making it a better place to live. So we talked frankly about, what motivated the two of us, and what we feel the motivations of the group are, and what we hope are the outcomes of the work that we're doing with the Equity Advisory Committee. So as per usual, John was very straightforward. I tried to echo his candor with some candor of my own. I do think it was a good interview, and there were some really wonderful quotes of Reverend Brown as well, talking about some of the things he's mentioned in this meeting so far. His own experience, living here throughout the decades and seeing the community change, and his, continued hope and optimism for the future, but also his commitment to being a part of that. So I thought it was a good cross section of, to talk about the different groups that are being represented within the Equity Advisory Committee. And I also think it shows the energy and the hard work that we're ready to put into this to hopefully make Chestertown a better place to live in the future for people of color.
Yes, yes. Any comments? All right, on the updates, we discussed a little bit about the Chestertown Black churches being in the final stages of editing right now, but we also have an introduction video coming by the mayor of Chris Sereno. We feel as Equity Advisory members that it's essential to the person who started this plan and pushed this plan forward in the community, give his take on how we got here, so to speak. So that will be an introduction video coming from the mayor, Chris Sereno. Chris, do you want to articulate or elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'm just envisioning that as like a really simple, like 3-minute video where, kind of like I did today, we kind of articulate how the plan came to be, when it was adopted, what the role of this committee is, and then also the purpose of the videos, basically to educate the community about our shared history, both Black and white, but with an emphasis on providing African Americans in particular with a platform to give them a voice in airing their own view on the town's history, and hoping that can help us all work together to make it a better place in the future. So if you've seen my little fireside chats about the coronavirus stuff, similar to that, just me with my wife taping me on an iPhone, maybe putting the logo in the front and the back of the video, and just having it be like a pretty basic introductory shot.
Thank you, Chris. That's updates. Any comments, questions, concerns for updates?
Yeah, just want to let you guys know, I keep turning off my camera because I got like teenagers making bacon and all kinds of crap happening around my house.
All right, new business. So for new business, what we're going to do next month is have on the agenda the SGA of Washington College. They want to do a report out of how the community Zoom went. We're still in discussions on whether or not we can record that due to some of the students that may not want to be recorded. But we will definitely have someone from the SGA report out on that at the next agenda meeting, at the next agenda next month. And we're also going to have Andy Goddard of the DCA coming to talk about some of the things that the DCA is implementing with working within the town plan and with the town of Chestertown in the downtown Chestertown area. So next month we will have two very, very supportive organizations on the agenda, Washington College, SGA, and the DCA of Chestertown. Any comments, questions, concerns? All right, Chairman has the floor. I'm going to open the floor for public comment. Public comment is for any individuals or groups that will be provided 2 minutes for commentary on today's agenda. Public comment, residents must be within Chestertown city limits. They must state their name, address, ward of residence, and councilman representative for public comment. Is there anyone present for public comment? No. Right? The record show that no one's attending for public comment. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns from the committee members on the overall agenda for today? And where are we going in the future or present? Any comments, thoughts, concerns? All right. I bring a motion to end the meeting of January 12th, 2021.
John, before we go, can I comment for a minute?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to type at the same time, so I'm like furiously. So I'd like to just like circle back for a minute to the website conversation.
Yes.
One of the things that John and I think is important is that the website, and this is something that I think the committee has discussed before, is that the website needs to be not just our minutes, but we're hoping that this will be a location that the content that we're creating can live, so that, you know, that way there's essentially a place that you can go to see all the videos all together, to see the introduction, and also to see progress on some of the work that we're doing as we move forward. John and I are going to be meeting with Francoise, who is the webmaster for the Town of Chestertown. She's already framed out a website for us, but we're going to be working with her to kind of tweak and refine it so that we're really wanting it to be an educational resource. I mean, yes. A lot of the work that we're doing, you know, with the sort of history of gentrification, of Black churches, et cetera, is important for people to be able to view, not just to have it live on Facebook, you know, for a minute, but to, you know, have it there as a resource moving forward. So that's something that John and I are working together on. We think that, you know, it's important that we provide content for the public, not just that we, you know, have a way for them to access us.
Right. I agree 100% with everything that Secretary of the committee stated. So we are gearing up. It should be ready, MLK Day, to launch it. And like she said, it's going to be a great educational tool for the town of Chestertown to show that progress to the community, because I think a lot of work gets done in the community, but people don't visually see the work sometimes. So I think this would be a good place to not only hear what's going on in Chestertown as it pertains to uniting against racism, but for Chestertown to have kind of the lead on a horse and buggy on showing the visuals and the effects of what a plan like this does moving forward. So I agree with everything Kate said 100%. Any closing remarks? I motion that we end the meeting of the Equity Advisory Committee for January 12th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any sustained? Any nays? The chairman has the floor and meeting adjourned.